the Quarter to a Million podcast. And what we're doing, by the way, is just so that you know, no financial advice. We're going to cover a bunch of stuff here today, but no financial advice is given here. This is all just us really documenting our journey, teaching you or sharing with you, I should say, all the things that we're learning as we really get into Forex and start to get a lot of profitable trades. That's always the goal. And the whole concept of the Quarter to a Million, what it came down to is we're turning $250 into $1 million. I don't know how long this is going to take us, but pretty much anybody can start with $250. And over time, if you learn, get it up to that point. That would be the objective, right? And so if you'd like to join us in this quest, you're welcome. Again, we won't be giving you financial advice, but you know who will? A master trader by the name of Donnie Pips, who we are working with. So we're going to get right into the podcast here now. We got Michael here. We got Stephen here, myself, Don LaPlume. And so Mike's got his chart up and he's already moving around. So Mike, what are you pulling up and why, my friend?
We got gold and we're on the 1 hour. So we were on with Donnie this morning too. And as you can see right here, it's been a lot of movement. You have this downward movement right here. And we have a demand zone, a 1 hour demand zone. Mm-hmm. And waiting for it to hit the back wall and push. Now look what's happened previously here. We had it hit the near bottom of the demand zone and then push up. We had it hit the bottom and then push up. We also had before that demand zone, it came down to the top, which is this support line. It's a support line and base of these two candles, and then came back up. Now, one of the things we briefly went over today, but if we fib this in an uptrend, based on exactly what Donnie did this morning. Actually, I should bring that over.
Yeah.
So we can see it. Okay. So we have the 5 here. And then look right here at the bottom here, just 618. What do we have? It's the bottom wall it's the back wall of the demand zone.
Yeah.
So we have double confirmations there. And even right below that, we have the 667. And right here, that's what it did. And same thing right here. Both of these pulled back to just below the 667. They pulled back and then went. Yep. So I think these two lines right here are very strong buy lines based on the technicals. But as we say pretty much every day, we also need to check the fundamentals. So for us, that's typically going to Forex Factory. And let's see, is there a way to just switch screens rather than, no, I'm just going to stop and share. Actually, entire screen. That's going to be a lot easier.
You can do the entire screen. The only thing is when you pull up, I haven't tried it with TradingView because TradingView is its own window.
Okay. So I'm going to give it a shot. We'll see what happens. We'll see how it looks. All right. So this is Forex Factory. So here's our news for the day. We go over this all the time. This one right now, we're looking at gold. So we're focused on primary, let's see right here, USD unemployment claims, pretty much held steady. Okay, so that's not really going to have a massive impact. Import prices held steady. These are yellow folders, not as big of an impact at all. I mean, these two almost negate each other. But there isn't a lot going on in terms of news today from this perspective. Now, with regards to the war in Iran, it's got to be a different story. So if we just quickly pull up on that, pull up the BBC, let's see what we got here. Just as to what's going on. So when we spoke earlier, okay. So Starmer is obviously now getting a little bit more in the UK, getting a little more active, the way it looks briefly to me here. So that's good news for the US and for our side here. But there was also, Beirut today. Beirut was heavily under attack, and That's what was right here. Overnight strikes, waves of strikes, hours after telling civilians living in large swaths of southern Lebanon to leave their homes immediately. So that's just something we're going to have to watch throughout the day for breaking news. We also want to check, as we do daily, FinViz. On FinViz, we go to news. And here's the blogs in the news, and here's the general news. So Dow's continuing to fall. Bottom line is here, I'm just trying to see things that are going to have major implications besides the war right now. Did Donnie pull? I know he did say that he was expecting that it's already fallen 600 and it had fallen 2,000 the last few days, over like 2,000 on one day, and then like it's fallen a decent amount over the last week since the war started. But did Donnie mention anything? I got on a little bit late, specifically about something that could impact price today. I know he did expect the U.S. to fall on the indexes. Did he say anything specifically as to what else were some of the causes besides the war, Steve?
I didn't catch you.
Oh, sorry. No, I said, did Donnie say anything? I know he had mentioned that with the war, that he was expecting the U.S. indexes to tank or fall today, or during the call, or right around the time of the call. Did he give any reasons outside of the war, as to what could be the drivers for that?
Hegseth was set to speak at a certain time this morning. So he said to watch for that and be careful with that. That was the only thing that he had on his radar, that he knew that was coming up now. But he urged everybody, to keep checking the news, right now during this, cycle that we're in, that was important, that you couldn't just trade and not watch the news as well, because things can come out that could completely change where you thought it was going, which was what we saw yesterday when, basically every trader in the world thought the market thought it was going to go in one direction and it went in the opposite. And Donnie talked about his loss. But he had a way about it today in today's call that you could clearly see his experience, because although he lost some significant amount of money, it wasn't the end of the world or the end of the day for him, or the end of the hour. And so the experience today with him was, and his words were, make trading fun, even when you have a loss. Because there's so few, and he has so few. I don't know if you caught him really talking about that today. Not to minimize your loss, not to minimize the loss, but it's just not to have it, knock you down so that you don't want to get up, but to keep moving forward.
Right, and I think we've talked about that in part where we talked about balance, and so the reason why balance is an important role in that is, as I mentioned before, balance gives you peace of mind. Balance gives you a buffer. Balance gives you the ability to not stress at all. So just understand it's par for the course. It's just the price to play the game. Okay, so you have to put money in order to trade. If you want to make money, you have to put money into a brokerage, and then you can trade that money that you put in. Is there a chance you could lose it? Yes. Is there a chance you could exponentially grow it? Yes. So you just have to understand that. But I think what the difference, and I just want to relay this to people, if you have a very low balance, you can still get in and test it out and play. But if you go down to zero, first and foremost, that's okay. No one ever wants to. But in this, you're going down to zero and you're out. And now you wait a week till you get paid again, or 2 weeks till you get paid again, or until you're comfortable, until you want to use real money again. In the meantime, paper trade.
I was just going to, you got to it. I was just going to say that, if you got to take time out fund wise, continue to paper trade, because you'll still be gaining that knowledge and that fortitude to push the button and do real trade.
Yeah, and the important thing is too, is if you got taken, I kind of mentioned this yesterday, but if you got taken out, okay, because let's say your lot size was too high, or You know, you win big on gold with 0.05 lot sizes. You can do very well and profit well off that. You can turn that, you can win hundreds in seconds with that kind of a lot size. But you can also lose your entire, like if you have $100 balance, you can lose that in seconds. So you have to understand what's a range. And I like what Donnie was originally saying, if you're under this range, then do 0.02, grow it up to a certain point, and then add a point, add one like hundredth of a point for each. And that's what I'm doing. And I had done this before, and then I went away from it because I was trying to, Johnny had talked about doing 0.05 minimums based on our knowledge. And the 0.05 minimums are great, but you can lose an account quick. And gold is so highly volatile, and we're learning, and we just don't know what we don't know yet. So we're going to make mistakes, and those mistakes could blast us out.
That's true. I mean, that kind of became really evident last month, and after having been in for a good 90 days, and then Donnie started expanding on. All of a sudden, I realized, well, there's more to know, but at the same time, my feeling was I'll be even a stronger trader, that I got this greater knowledge now. And he has a way that he gives it to us in steps so that we can get it. We can learn step 1, and then he'll give us step 2. And we're on to like step 3. And at times you wish, well, why didn't he give us that in the beginning? Well, because we might not have gotten it. We might not have fully understood and gotten the basics that we have at this point. And people want to say, thinking about it and maybe thinking that I'm not smart or intelligent enough. If you graduated kindergarten, you can learn to trade Forex. That's really basically it. It's not rocket science. It's just studying it, going into the back office, the recordings that we have here, following that, and then getting on the trading, because it's live and asking the questions, and it's interactive. And, there are no dumb questions that get asked. Everyone, there isn't any. You're trading together as a community, and you come away from every session feeling better and more confident. That's really the greatest thing about Donnie Pip and the style that he has.
Agreed. And the other thing too is I think it's important to work with Donnie directly. It's like $10,000 is a minimum to get started training with Donnie, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes. You know what? And when he talks about the people that he traded with earlier in the morning already, it's like, okay, I got to get there. Right?
Yeah. But if you think if he gets started, I think he said he starts mapping and everything around 5. Doesn't he say he gets up at 4 and he starts getting in there just before 5? I think he said. But again, this is part of the reason, doubling down on your point that I was explaining, is that I wanted to make sure we say for everybody, because this is for everybody, no matter where you are. I mean, you guys can see, as you've said before, the 3 of us are similar in our intent, in our desire to learn, in our want to learn and get better. But we also come from completely different backgrounds, with some similarities and a lot of differences. And we came from 3 different spaces and came together, and yet Donnie's singular style, and that's why he's doing it the way he's doing it, sequentially and in a linear manner. The growth is exponential. Okay, but the understanding has to be linear, so you understand step by step by step, like you said.
Key part of the growth being exponential. Yeah. That's a key factor, because it is.
It is. And you start doing things and you're like, wait a minute. Not only did I do that, but I knew that was coming.
Yeah. Yep.
And then your faith in self starts getting stronger. And then the more and more you learn, they just build upon the other. And they just, even right now, like this is one of the things. I have the gold trade up right now. I am sitting here parked. I missed it, drop back to this line, which is what I was looking for. So now I just got to wait and see if it comes back again. But in the past, as soon as I started moving up, I would have jumped in.
Right.
You know, and then what would have happened? I would have fluctuated around here, would have gone down, and I probably would have got bounced out, depending on the balance. Or I would have had a $50, $60, $70 loss. Now, $50, $60, $70 loss, if you have a $100 account,
Right.
that's not the direction you want to be heading.
Correct.
So for me, it's just, I have the patience, I do have the understanding, and now it's just waiting for it to do what I expect it's going to do. And sometimes that means even waiting a long time. I'm just going to quickly check on Euro USD while you're.
Yeah. In the meantime, like Donnie's goal is to make 3 trades a day.
Right.
It's not more.
Right.
That's what he looks for. And if those 3 happen in the first 10 minutes, then he's done.
Right. Right. He said too, even for us, he said we shouldn't be doing more than 3 to 8.
Right.
Yeah. You know, and I was just thinking about my son for a sec. I want to briefly elaborate on this. Is I think another thing that's important is, yes, there's so many videos out there that you can learn from, but I highly, highly, highly recommend it. Focus on Donnie as a primary. If you've ever read the book, The Science of Getting Rich, the first thing it talks about is just, for the time being, let's suspend disbelief, let's suspend doubt, let's just assume that the author is like, Wallace D. Wattles, let's assume I know what I'm talking about, and until I prove to you that I don't, just follow what I say in a specific order. Donnie has proven to us that he does, first and foremost, us personally, but I would highly recommend you just follow what he says. And I don't care if you watch something else or you pick up something, but it's important that you stay with the steps that he's teaching, like you were saying, so you understand how to create supply and demand zones, how you understand how to do support and resistance lines, how you understand how to do trend lines, how you understand basic candle patterns and what they mean. As this all comes together, it's basically like you've been thoroughly prepped by the guy who wrote the exam on how to take the test. So when you show up on test day, you're calm, relaxed, and excited.
And it's an open book test.
And it's an open book test, exactly. Yep. Yeah, so right here too, even on Euro USD, it's a similar thing. I'm just waiting for it to come back and hit here.
Right. So like if you said back in October, look at this chart, and in 4 or 5 months, you're going to know exactly what everything is on it. Back in October, we would each, looked at it and said, okay, I'll see you at the next session. And then you go back and replay the one that you just had and review it, and you pick up a little bit more about what they were talking about, and it just kept building where you get to that point. And the level of education that the 3 of us have all reached, the knowledge that we've gained in a relatively short period of time. Let's say take a college semester. The time that I put in here was that the knowledge that I've gained is greater than any semester that I ever had in high school or college at all.
Right.
And this is transformational. It's given me a skill for life that I can determine my future. I don't need to rely on anybody else. I don't need to sell a product. I don't need to learn how to use the different social media platforms to advance myself or my product to earn that money. Here, you gain the skill yourself, and you're self-sufficient and self-reliant. But as you continue in the trading community, you find that you're not alone, you're together.
Yeah, and the other thing too, using that school analogy, which is a great analogy.
Yeah.
If you think about it, right, what's the knock on a lot of school? Like my 12-year-old keeps on sending my wife and I videos on why he doesn't need to go to college. And he's like, I'm going to be a day trader. He's like, I'm going to be killing it by the time I'm 17. I don't need to go to college. I said, I was like, I don't disagree with that.
Yeah. Right.
I'm like, I also don't agree with it. You're 12.
Yeah.
So when you're around 16, 17, let's have that conversation. But I agree, it's not necessary for everybody. I said, with that being said, what he said to me, well, aren't a lot of these classes taught by lifetime teachers that have never done it? And I was like,
what are you having him read? What's he doing?
I'm having him read a lot, but no, I was like, you're 100% accurate. You are 100%. That was one of my biggest issues. And actually, it's one of the reasons I left the school I was at. I was in a school for business, and the guy running the business program came in to teach our class. I asked him a few questions. I asked him, he gave a brief background, and I said, well, what have you started? And he's like, oh, I teach. And I was like, okay, but what have you started? And he's like, what? I'm like, what kind of companies have you run? I'm like, what's your hands-on experience in the field? How many mistakes have you made that you can teach at? And he's like, well, I mean, he's like, and he had no answer. And next day unenrolled.
Yeah.
Because I was like, if this is how the guy who runs the program, and it's not a knock on him, it's just not what I was looking for. So the whole college analogy you gave, what I wanted to say more importantly, I just went off on a tangent there, was that we get the education. Okay, so we're in class, there is a lecture series, but it's an interactive lecture series. Okay. On top of that, we get the labs where you're doing live application of what you're learning with the instructor, not the teacher's aide. Or not someone else who knows the guy and is just proctoring you because they don't have time. We have the actual teacher and the creator of the strategy that we're learning in there with us, teaching us hands-on, and then asking us to submit homework that they're reviewing. And when necessary, he'll hop on a call directly with you just to make sure you understand what's going on, to make sure you don't get sent down the wrong path. And if someone says something that's erroneous, he's going to make sure that he calls it out so that everyone doesn't get confused.
Right.
Yep. And it's that application, in addition to the learning piece, I think is essential because so many places don't do that.
Right.
Especially with the instructor. I'm going to bounce.
There was my father was a plumbing heating contractor, and worked for him for summers when I was in college, and then for 3 years out of school. So it's one summer we're doing a project, and it was an old brownstone building, 1 story, that was getting changed, and with an addition on it, going to become an assisted living facility. And so the new part, we're hanging a 3-inch, black pipe sprinkler line, and we have to go through the old section, which is literally a 3-foot by 4-foot brownstone block. And the engineering on it has us going right through it. With no concept of what it was going to take to get through that block. So, the engineer that designed, the sprinkler system, the architect, came down there, and, I'm there, I'm like 20 or 21, and this guy was not much older than me, but out of school. And the plumber I'm with was kind of like a wild Sicilian guy, to give you the personality. And he looked at the guy, and he said, how are we going to get through this? What are we going to do? What's your solution?
Yeah.
Anyways.
No, but
we had to hire. They ended up hiring, an outside contractor, that bore through it and did a hole through it. But they had to check the integrity of it because it was a carrying wall,
right?
And a whole bunch of things, but it was just never thought of,
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. I worked for last year 4 months for a builder that specialized in Boston, restoring and rebuilding and renovating brownstones.
Yep. Yeah.
So I'm inside a couple, and they're completely gutted to the floor. 3 levels gutted to the floor with just the steps left.
Yeah.
You look it around and you realize also the history there too. These things are from the 1800s, and all the different things they can and cannot do, and they can't go below this level because of Boston Water and Sewer. They can't do this because of this, and they have this, and then these lines are here, and this is here. But it was, I mean, it makes a lot of sense, but it was something that I had never thought about.
Right.
And seeing how they're trying to run stuff through some of these walls, like you're talking about, it's not going through there. And then they can't do that in the city, because if they do that, that could disturb the neighbors. And if
Right.
there's vibrations in the neighbors, you can't do that unless you own both properties. So it was interesting, but I know exactly what you're talking about. It just wasn't part of the initial thought.
Right.
Yep.
See, and just even the conversation that we just had here, and when you said disturb the neighbors, some people not realizing that that's a common wall, that the neighbor is right next to you,
Right.
and that you share that common wall. Yeah.
Right. And God forbid they have stuff, which they probably do. And they could have expensive paintings hanging on that wall. You have no idea what's on that wall. When you start doing anything that I didn't even
think about that part. Yes, exactly. Yep.
Yep. So they needed that. There's a whole, even like when they go into the entranceway, like there's things have to be covered in a certain way. Everything has to be this. You're only allowed in during these hours. The door doesn't open and understandable, so you don't disturb all the neighbors.
Right.
But there's a lot that goes in. Yep, still holding right here. So not a lot going on right there with that. Though not a lot that I'm jumping on right now, at least. Let's see if we get that. What about that's that? Let me jump back to Euro USD. Euro USD, it's still at that support line right here. It's not. I'd ideally like to see it come back to here. And what do we got for a brief trend? It's had trending up slightly.
And that note that you were saying in this morning in Donnie's session, he was, and there were like 3 or 4 trades, or about 3 trades that he called, during the session where I'm with him, that if you follow them, and you have to understand his language when he says, because he doesn't tell you, make this trade right now. And he says, I like this, and I'm doing this trade here.
Yep.
And that's the sign that that you may want to follow. And this morning, he was right a few times with it.
Yeah, every time I think we've briefly talked about one thing on here too, that if you just show up on those calls and you just take advantage of those moments, that happens multiple times a week.
Yes. Yeah, just in that. Yep.
It's sometimes multiple times a day, sometimes once a day, sometimes whatever. But I would say bottom line is you're going to cover, you're going to profit. You're not going to just cover.
Correct.
You're going to profit
Right.
your monthly subscription, even if you don't do the prefer 4. So
and that's just having a $250 balance and being very conservative, with everything that you're doing.
Yep. No, it's so valuable to just shadow and listen and just pay attention. And I'll say this, if you want to know personally, my experience with it is every time I have taken advantage of that, because I've either had the active funds in the account, or I've been actively trading, or I've been in gold that morning, or because I have another rule now too. If I get in late in the morning, or I got calls for work and I'm handling other things, and I don't get a chance to fully mark up my charts and kind of have a clue what's going on and check fundamentals, I'm not jumping in.
Right.
Because I just feel like I'm not prepared. And every time I've jumped in when Donnie said it, I've lost once.
Right.
We both lost.
The key thing that you may not get right away is being prepared. And you need to do your homework first. So before you start to go trade, you need to mark up your charts, and you learn how to do that. And that's really key, because that sets you up for the success, for the day. You and I both played sports. You wanted higher level than I did. And that preparing before the game is essential, whether you're playing baseball, football, basketball, anything, even if you're individual and you're playing chess, you're going to prepare ahead of time on what you're doing. And this is the same, but it doesn't, this doesn't seem like work. It's
Right.
got a very different feeling.
It does. And, it's funny you just brought that up because we were definitely on the same mental wavelength here. As I was getting ready to get on this call, as I got off the other call, what was in my head was I play any game that's out there that I think that looks fun, I want to play. If I don't have a clue how to play the game, then at the beginning, you can call it playing for fun. You can call it whatever you want, because yes, I am playing for the enjoyment, but I am playing to study and learn because my goal is absolute dominance. Like it is literally like, I don't want to be good at something. I want to be able to at will pound people, and not, that's just my mentality. It's not even right. Sometimes it's a little insane, but even like if we're talking ping pong, like as a kid, I remember I had a buddy that used to beat me consistently in ping pong. So I had my mom buy a ping pong table, and I put it up next to a wall, and I would play like against myself nonstop.
Right.
I would practice all this crazy stuff, and then about a month later, I beat him, and then I could beat him consistently, and then I could beat him easily, and then I could beat him lefty. It was like, how do I make this a challenge? And that's how I kind of approach this too, is right now I'm in that massive learning phase.
Yeah.
But my overall goal is to turn this into a dominant profit source for my family and be able to share that. Like we've talked about this. I love that my son's getting involved. I wish my daughters were more, but if they're not ready to learn it and they don't want to learn it right now, they're not going to do the work.
Right. You can't force it. Yep.
Right. I mean, they think it sounds cool, but they're just, it sounds like something else to add to their day right now. It sounds like another task.
Right.
Whereas my son sees it as, this is my ticket.
You're right. Yep. Yeah.
And he treats it like it's a sport, which is great.
Here's a sports question.
Yep.
Pickleball or no pickleball?
I do enjoy pickleball, but
Okay.
but I don't play because my knees can't support it right now.
Okay. Yep.
So I prefer tennis. And
Yeah.
I also haven't played tennis in ages, but I love playing tennis.
Yeah.
Okay. It was one of my favorite sports. My sister had me take lessons, and if I did well, I got to play on the clay courts. So it was like, and she had me play against people who were ranked in states. And so it was a blast. But I mean, I played purely for fun. But again, my goal was to find the best person around and beat him bad. And just remind him that if I did take it serious, you would not be number one. Like that was my mentality.
Yeah.
Pickleball seems like a bigger version of like a combination between ping pong and tennis.
Right.
Yeah. But the last time I even was joking around playing basketball with my son's friends about 4 or 5 years ago, when I wasn't just stationary shooting, I just faked to the left and went right, and my knee reminded me very quickly that that's not in our best interest right now.
Yep. Yeah.
So I would be running back and forth on pickleball, planting the leg and sliding, and my knees would not support me. So I don't unfortunately play it, although I would if I had the legs that could support it. So that's one of the things I'm working on this year too, is improving my lower body health so I can possibly see if without doing a knee replacement, do I have the possibility to start getting active and stuff like that again.
Right. Yeah. For me, I ski. I can still ski. I've been skiing several times this year.
That's great.
And I haven't, so far I'm still successful.
Yeah. Well, I was saying, I mean, I can still throw a baseball probably I'd be probably 81, 82 max probably.
Yeah.
But that's about the extent of things I can still dominate with on the baseball side.
Well, that's all you need to strike me out.
Yeah. I can still throw. I can still get a good arm for football, but it's not what it used to be. But I can still throw a football about 50 yards. So we'll see. But
we want to finish this trade up. We're a little bit after 11.
Yeah.
Don got called away.
Yep.
Tomorrow, I don't think Don is going to be with us, so it'll be you and I, Mike.
Correct.
And
yep.
We'll
and so
catch everybody then.
Yep, and just letting you guys know, the only thing we're waiting on right here is it going to hit this line for the Euro USD, and on gold, we're just let me go to 1 hour. There it is. I'm just waiting for it to come back to this back wall right here.
Yep.
And if it shoots through, I'm going to get it when it goes right here. But these are the two things we're looking for right now.
Right.
Okay, so on gold, I'm looking for it to hit 50.80. And on Euro USD, I'm looking for it to get down to 1.15, like 675. So there's the
Right, so
last bit of
tomorrow,
color.
if we can come back and take a look at the gold and the euro, and then
Yep.
see where they went there.
Sounds good.
All right. You have a great
All
day.
right. Thank you. I'm going to stop sharing.